And we are live. Guys, welcome to the Bassin Magazine podcast. Bassin Magazine is the official magazine of the Weekend Angler. My name is James. I'm going to be your podcast. With me tonight, I have Brad Yo from Bassin Magazine. And also, I couldn't be more excited to have Damian Thao. Damian Thao, second place, Bassmaster Kayak Series championship. His first national level tournament is first time competing outside of California. Never been on Lake Chickamauga. Didn't do well during practice, but he pulls out a second. I cannot believe this. I cannot wait to talk to this guy. I know Brad's every bit as excited as I am because Brad is a kayak tournament competitor. How you doing tonight, Damian?
Good. Thanks for having me on with you guys.
Thanks for coming, man. Congratulations.
Yes,
Thank you.
It's an honor, Damian. It's an honor. The first
You
thing
know-
I'd like to talk about. Go ahead, Brad.
Yeah, I just wanted to say real fast, I know the kayak championship's going on. We had Steve Fields on here a couple weeks ago talking about the Bassmaster Classic and the kayak championship going on before the boat championship. And, we're all excited. And what do I see first? First news break story ever that I see, not who won, but who gets second. It's the first time I think that it was more publicity for second place than it was for first. And not to knock that guy, he's a good guy. I like him a lot. I fished against him in a lot of events, a lot of Hobie events, but the press coverage seemed to be over Damian first than anybody else. So, hey, congratulations. That's awesome.
Oh, thanks.
Good to
Much
see that
respect
it didn't
to
bury
Russ
the
Snyder.
lead.
Much respect to Russ, man. That guy, he can catch you.
Russ
So,
can. He
yeah.
is a great angler.
Man, Chickamauga can be a blessing and it can be a curse. You fished it, haven't you, Brad?
I have, yeah, and it was definitely a curse to me. Damien knows a little bit of that story, but you're right. It can be a blessing or a curse. I mean, how did it go for you? Your practice wasn't very, very good or confident, or tell us your story.
So practice was we actually got there a little bit earlier than what we had planned because I think the drive for us was about like 36 hours, I'm gonna say. So we drove up there and then we had planned to stop and sleep on the drive up, but we're so excited we just straight shot all the way over there. And
Right.
then first day of practice, we you know you come into Chickamauga, you're thinking of bucket list, like you're like, wow, man, you see online and people's catching these giant these giant bass, ledge fishing, it's all this great stuff. And we get there, the water is really low, and
Oh no.
it's really low, and we're like, wow, man, all the good looking stuff is outside of the water,
Oh,
and you know first day of practice we get on the water, and I got two bites all day long. I ended up graphing a lot, using my side scan, looking for a lot of stuff, and really trying to look for some deep stuff. Yeah, and I did get two bites, and that was about it. That's all I got for the day. But I did
Wow.
I did get some pieces that I needed to know for that fishery from those two bites, what I needed to be looking for. So did struggle during practice, so we checked that first spot, which was, I believe, Saudi Creek. I think we launched out at Holly Point and we fished that area, and you know, uh, that's we got. I got two bites from that. That was it from that area. And then day two of practice, we tried another ramp was which is a pretty popular area. It's Dallas Bay, I believe that ramp is called Chester Frost. So we checked that spot, and yeah, it was cold. Before going to Chickamauga, I thought the water temps or the temperature itself was gonna be really warm. I thought I was gonna be going and do some bed fishing, but you get there and it's freezing temperatures. You think it was like in the 20s or something, and my kayak has some water in it, and you wake up and you get to the lake and you open the kayak up and you got blocks of ice in it. Just
Yes.
yeah. And I'm out there practicing at Chester Frost, and it's just so cold. It was just ridiculously cold. I was not prepared for this cold, and my every time I casted, my line would, like, my guides would freeze up, my reels would freeze up. Everything I did, it was just I just was not feeling it. So I just ended up graphing majority of that day. So I just rode around. Even I went around really slowly because it was just so cold. So I'm just holding myself and just using my remote to graph around and yeah. So with that, I ended up catching two fish from there. But that was another good sign because I was fishing deep ledges, and
Hmm.
this area was a ledge that was leading to the big spawning base. So these are fish that
Aha.
these are
Pre-spawn.
right because I felt like for going because I felt like the temperatures are still very cold. You're looking for, you know, of course some of these fish have already traveled and made it all the way back, but they may be coming back out because the water temps is not consistent. We were getting water temps from 47 to going to as high as like 52. So
Okay.
I wasn't sure
Still
how the
cold.
weather was before going to this event. Maybe it might have been warmer. So this cold front really kind of helped me because uh, I feel a little bit more comfortable fishing deep, and those deep fish are a little bit more consistent. So uh, I think that cold front kind of played to me. So with practice, we found some offshore ledge that. I felt like these fish that are from the main channel are coming in, so they're not ready to move all the way back in, but they're sitting in these spots until once temperature is right, and they'll move in, and then so I found this spot. I got two fish off of it, and I left it alone. I caught one good one and one small one, but it was the only area where I got two bites at one spot. So
Right.
that kind of gave me a sign that if they're here, there's gonna be quite a bit of them. So I try not to touch those fish, try not to present any bait to them because I didn't want to beat them up. And then day three of practice, we went to our initial spot, which the first day we originally practiced, right? We didn't get a lot of bites there again. So, but we traveled out towards the main river and we found something that was uh, where I felt like I was going to get a lot of bites and a better quality fish, which fishing standing timber. So, standing timber was what I was looking for on the main channel that swings around. It has had the main channel and swings, and it has to be far off the bank. So we found this area, and it was a good drop from 8 feet to 25 feet.
Okay.
So and on the very top of that was standing timber. So we found that. We ended up not getting bites there first thing in the morning though. We got there, we didn't get any bites, but on the way back in to load up because our day is finishing up, I started getting those bites in the afternoon, and so I caught five fish
Nice.
in the general area for my last practice day. So I caught five fish. So that gave me and they weren't all from this one spot. They were all separate spots. But I wanted to kind of see what kind of quality I was gonna catch. So I
Right.
caught one here and one there, but they're all related to wood. So that was the main thing. And so together I just found that I can get on some deeper fish, and that was really what my target was, because the conditions were not consistent. So it was water temperatures all over the place, and it was just not the same throughout the day. And with upcoming days, the weather was changing a lot. So practice was freezing cold. The day one was just poured all day long. It didn't let up. It was just
Oh,
nonstop rain, and the following day was gonna be the highest temperature for the week, I believe, and it was just gonna be sunny. So, uh, yeah, going into tournament day, it's gonna be a different approach. Pretty much, it felt like.
So,
wow.
you're 32 hours from home, 34, whatever you said, and you get there, and all the conditions, all the temperature, everything is not what you prepared for it. You can't just turn around and get something else out of your garage for tackle wise. How do you prepare for something from such a major change from what you thought it was going to be to what it is?
So I just carry I kept it very simple. I keep the stuff that I know I always get bit on. I brought six rods. Usually on my home waters I'm running about maybe 10 to like 14 rods in my boat, but this time, I just brought the six rods I know I could do everything with. I just uh bring the tackle that I know I always get bit on wherever I go in California. I just bring just the simple stuff and just keep it very simple. And the thing is, I brought less stuff because I that when I practice and I feel like if I need something, I can just go to a local shop and just buy what I need there, and spend my money there, and you know, hopefully, help business that's in that area, just so
Right.
so if I find that I could get bid on something else, I just purchase it there so I don't have to carry such stuff from California here. And then that's basically what I did. So I just packed very light, and then once I found my what I need to be doing, I really eliminated even more stuff so that I don't get sidetracked doing other stuff.
So day one, it's pouring down rain.
Yes.
What was your strategy? I mean, sometimes if it's pouring down rain, it dampens my spirits, and I'm already defeated. How do you prevent that, man?
Yeah. So when I get to the ramp, it's just pouring rain. So he's just like, man, the water, and we get to the ramp. I launched out of Chester Frost. So when we get to the ramp, the water's coming up to the ramp because originally we were dragging the kayaks in the dirt to get to the water, but now it's close to the cement. So you're like, man, the water went up like a foot, and that's
Wow.
gonna that's
Oof.
gonna change a lot. So I was like, oh gosh, what am I gonna do, right? So the whole time I'm waiting the car for blast off, I'm just waiting. I'm just like, what should I do, right? I know I have a good game plan going in, but with this rain, it's probably gonna change this offshore bite because usually you got rain and low light condition. You can do really well running the banks and you know finding these fish that are moving up on these newer water because the water temp is gonna go up a little bit. For the morning water temp was a lot higher than usual for
Sure.
every morning because the overcast, you got rain. I think the starting water temp for the morning was like 50. I want to say it was
Okay,
like
so it was raining. What was the water chocolate milk yet?
no, it was not chocolate milk. It was still pretty clear.
Oh,
Right.
That's
good.
good. That's
Yeah,
good.
it's
'Cause
clear.
raining with
That's fine.
chocolate milk is just horrible.
Yeah.
Right. So my game plan was starting at Chester Frost and fish there for about 3 hours, right, to get a limit because I feel like I can get a limit there fishing that rock. And uh, with the practice, I felt like I can get a limit there, so I went there first and then uh, moved to another ramp, which I found on that wood, which I know it's a later bite because I was getting bites in the afternoon. So we went to Chester Frost. We launched out of there. We started up shallow. We threw a lot of different baits, reaction baits. It looked really good for reaction. I threw a lot of cranks, spinner baits, all that good stuff, and no bites. And then we pulled offshore, and as soon as we pulled offshore, we caught one. And what I was throwing was a Carolina rig. It's a Carolina rig on a really light line, fishing 10-pound P line tactical, and with a really lightweight quarter ounce to 3/8 ounce, and just
Wow.
dragging that around the ledges. And I'd catch one here and there, and then I'd move to other spots on that channel, and I'd pluck one here and there. And then once I got my five, I left that ramp. I left that place. So I went back to the car. I loaded everything back up. I then went to my second spot, which is
Wow.
and that cost me about an hour of 20 minutes of my day to do. And I ran to my second spot, and my game plan was to try to call her, because I know this fish didn't turn on until the afternoon.
Yeah.
And as soon as I got there, I think I got there was like maybe 12 o'clock, I want to say. So we had about 3 hours left to fish. So yeah, I went there and I ended up calling all my fish out, except for one. So I called all my
Oh,
fish out, yes, except for one.
Wow.
you
And
upgraded four fish.
I upgraded four fish, yes.
Wow.
Yeah, but that first spot was just to get a limit to make me feel
Yeah.
comfortable because if you didn't
Yeah.
that having that limit on day one is extremely crucial. If you It's not like
Yeah.
weight wise, you might
Oh
have a solid
yeah.
weight and have fourth, but
Yeah.
if you have a little 12 incher, that puts you way up there. So having the limit really put me at ease, and then I just went and fished that standing timber with that Carolina rig, and a lot of these fish were actually a lot of pre-spawners, but from what I noticed was a lot of these fish were actually fish that were that they had released from a previous tournament there.
Oh.
Because
Yes.
you think pre-spawn really fat, chunky, healthy fish, but some of these they look kind of stressed out and really kind of thin for pre-spawn fish. So they had a tournament there and they released the fish, and these fish are just pulling off and staying very far offshore on this standing timber. They're not on it, but they're just hunkered around it.
So when you say Carolina rigging, what were you using in soft plastic?
I was using a Zoom brush hog. I was using a
Okay.
mid-size Zoom brush hog.
Mid-sized room. So small profile, long.
Yes, yeah. And I was fishing a long leader. And what I do is I'd make repetitive casts, the same cast repetitively to one structure, one standing tree, and I drag it through that standing tree, and then that bait would get kind of caught in the limbs, but the sinker would fall down, and I'd slowly shake it off, and that's when they'd grab it. And then and it was an afternoon bite. I know it was an afternoon bite, and once I got one to go, I pretty much got bit pretty much almost every cast, and
Wow.
it was
Wow.
just really consistent. And then it died down a bit. I'd leave them, I get off of them, and I'd come back to them, they start biting again. And
Yeah.
these fish were very finicky fish, surprisingly, because if I motored too close to them or if I went on top of them, they would not bite. If I had a weird angle, they did not bite. So here in
Wow.
California, you can drag uphill and get a lot of bites. For this, all my bites came dragging downhill. So and it was a certain angle that I had to hit to get those bites. If it was the angle was off, I would not get any bites at all.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, that's amazing.
Listen to how this guy picks this apart, guys.
Yeah. How did you
Listen
figure
to
out
this.
what angle? I mean, are you
Yeah.
using northeast, southwest? Are you saying I got to line myself up with 3 points on the bank? What's
Yeah,
your
so when I was sitting, as you can see the ramp all the way there, right? You can see the ramp out in distance. So I'd be casting to the ramp, but if my angle was off, I'd get snagged right away, and that was not the right angle. If you got snagged, you it was not the right angle. You'd have to feel the wood, and it slowly fall off. So there's a right spot. It's like a sweet spot where you get bit, and if you're off, you just did not get any bites. I rotated around a lot, but every time I came back to that one angle, I got bit. So I just pretty much stuck to that one angle all the time.
See, this is key. This is key.
Yeah.
This guy kept trying different things until he got bit. Then he went back and got bit again. Two fish, as long as I've been fishing, has always equaled a pattern.
yeah? And his third fish, he dialed in more of a pattern and figured it out.
Fourth fish, I'm stuck. I'm not doing anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But that's just
it
me,
was
guys.
really good. It was a really good spot, and I think that spot had a lot of potential. I feel like it didn't have any big ones, but I feel like it had consistent quality. Just didn't have those giants that were gonna win you tournaments, you know.
Well, obviously, it got you a second.
And, yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah.
to have
Go-
your limit on day one, pick up, pack up, move, and go cull fish and cull 4 of them. You know, that's a great move because you can't win on day one, but you can sure lose on day one.
most
Yes,
definitely.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of those fish I caught at the other ramp, which was a 17-inch on the ledge. I was very surprised with that one because I thought there were gonna be all smaller fish on that ledge. When I caught the 17, I was pretty surprised. So it was a good bonus. So
Yeah.
that definitely helped, and that just helps me say the offshore bite is still very good. You know, if I went to these offshore spot that I had on the other ramp, I felt like those fish would be biting too, and they might be better quality than the ones here.
Right. How far away off the ramp did you go to get offshore?
I was I was probably about. It wasn't that far off the ramp.
Yeah.
It was literally like in the middle of the bay. So the channel swings along the wall,
Okay.
and then it's literally in the center. I was pretty fortunate because I had it all to myself. There's there's quite a bit of anglers, but they're running the banks. Because the banks, they look really juicy. The banks,
Yeah.
it was just your bluff walls, and you got fallen timber everywhere, and it just looked really good.
But
Yep.
you, as a California guy, you're used to fishing offshore.
Oh yes, we do it all the
Right.
time. So I was that's what I was kind of saying. I was pretty fortunate this time because we had that cold front, and that kind of plays more towards what I like to fish is offshore. And I felt like these fish that were getting ready to move up, they just were not comfortable. They moved back out and they just sat there. So uh, that definitely helped me because I feel like I that the offshore bite is a little bit more consistent for me. So uh, once I found offshore fish, I felt pretty comfortable because I had it to myself. There was quite a bit of boat traffic and stuff, but it seems like the majority of the guys were on the bank, so uh, I felt pretty at home where I was at.
So, were
Yeah.
you fishing a full size brush hog or a baby brush hog?
So they have four sizes. They have the tiny,
Yes,
the baby, the mid size, and then the full size. So I was using the mid size.
mid size. Okay. What is that? About 6 inches, 7 inches?
No, no, it's not that big. It's maybe about
4 1/4.
yeah 4 1/4 around
Four
there.
Yeah.
quarter?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I don't use brush hogs very often. That's
No,
just
it's great. It's information. That's good. Um, I know you're catching fish. You're sitting out there. You're seeing this boat traffic. You're seeing all this traffic that's out on the lake. go by and maybe one or two kayakers or whatever. But was there any point where you're like, man, I haven't really caught them out here? They haven't fired up yet. I'm not at the right angle. Should I go follow these boat guys on the bank, or were you? I mean, were you hammering them just right away, and you knew you were in the right spot and they weren't?
For day one, I knew I was in the right spot.
Yeah.
As soon as I pulled up, as soon as I got to the spot, I pulled up, I turned my motor off, and then I got into the right position. I spot locked, and I fired to them. First cast, I got bit. I missed the fish. Fired again, caught another one, and then I caught one, which was a nice one. It was like a big 17-inch, and then I made another cast, caught another one, and it was kind of like that. And then of course they'd stop biting. I'd pull off, fish some other stuff around, some other wood, and catch
Yeah.
a few over there, and I come back to the spot, and the bigger ones was just chewing. So
Just
I felt like
reload.
that offshore bite for that day was there.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you know what I'm talking about, sometimes you second guess, oh, these guys are over here. Are they catching anything? There's so many people over there on the bank, or the bigger fish on the bank. But, I mean, you caught a fish on first cast. You got 5 fish already. You know you're in the right. You know you're in the right spot.
Right, because it seemed like that lake was fishing a little bit kind of off. It seemed like because you know you would fish a lot of bank before you ran into one fish. So if you found a spot where
Yeah.
you got more than one bite, that was a spot to be at. So I felt like this spot was where I needed to be at because as long as I'm getting bites, I'm happy.
Yeah.
So
That's
day
awesome.
2, did you go back and do the same thing?
No, day two. So after seeing the results for day one, right? So they show us all the results, and then these other guys, they really hammered them. They caught 90 plus bags. So my bag ended up for the day was 80, and I thought I was doing pretty good. And I for day one, I ended up in I believe ninth place out of 132 anglers. So I'm like, okay, I got a decent bag, but I'm not gonna catch these guys that are bagging these giant bags, because of course, with that rain, I felt like somebody was gonna get on them shallow and catch some big bags. So day two, going with that mindset, I'm like, oh, I gotta abandon all my stuff and go and just fish my big fish spot. So I ditched my original game plan, which is to fish 2 ramps, and I just went straight to my big fish spot. Uh, which that was my gut feeling, but while I was fishing out there, I I felt I made the wrong decisions, but in a kayak you can't really
You're
run somewhere else. You're just stuck
yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So going to day two, it was a little different. I made that decision to do that big fish spot, but in my head, I knew those fish weren't gonna turn on until the afternoon. Once you had like noon, those fish did not turn on. So, going into that, I fished that bluff wall because when I got to the water, it was really stained and the water is a little higher. So I went really shallow, beat the bank, fished that bluff wall, those wood. I fished it pretty hard. I threw a spinner bait, Colorado blades and stuff, and nothing like that. I caught one. Flipping a brush hog, full size brush hog on some wood. Caught a little keeper, spotted bass, 13.75, and I was happy to have them because the bite was pretty tough. But after that, I went early to my offshore spot. I struggled really hard, and I caught one more keeper. After that, I scrambled around, and then yeah, really struggled on day two. So once the window did open up, it was around. I did not have a limit till about 12:30 to 1 o'clock.
Oh
So the
wow.
whole day I had 2 or 3 fish, and I did get bites, but they were very soft bites, and I was missing the hook sets. So I felt like those fish are still there. They're just
Mm.
not. They're just kind of lockjaw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once the window did open up, once it hit 12 or 12:30, when the water temp started to get really high up there, uh, they just turned on. And I started catching. I filled the limit, and then these bigger ones they started showing up, and they just started chewing. So ended up getting on them at the end.
So
Man.
what were you catching the bigger ones on?
Same thing. I was doing the same thing. I was fishing the same angle. I made the same cast over and over again. And then once the window was right, it was quite a bit of bites. And I ended up catching a limit. I caught one, which I thought was gonna be my kicker, was just a 19-incher. I was like, man, I'm happy to have that guy because that called a little 12-incher. I was like, wow,
Big
you know,
day.
it's a big difference, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, cool. I that's a good call right there. Because in my head the whole time I'm like, oh man, did I throw a top 10 away? Did I make the wrong decisions? But
Right.
what else do you have with to do, right? You beat everything up around the bank here. You ran all these other spots. You fished some grass. You figured these fish were moving, but when I came back to it, these fish did not move. They were still there. They just the timing was off. That's why I wasn't getting these fish in the boat. So once
Yeah.
the timing was right, they started chewing. Caught some pretty good ones pretty quickly, and then I think the last 10 minutes before lines out, I ended up catching my biggest fish of the tournament, which is a 20 incher.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So another hour, the bigger fish are even going to move in. I
Right.
mean, not that you need them, but you were in the right spot for those fish to move in and call out all your little ones.
Yeah, if the tournament had gone a little bit longer, or even if you were to somebody else's to come in later, man, I felt like those guys would stroke them because they were just turning on right then.
Yeah. Man, that's
So-
awesome.
Bassmaster Kayak Series weigh-in is on the same stage that the Bassmaster Classic boys are going to walk across. How did it feel to walk across the Bassmaster Classic stage? Damian, Thao, second place.
Oh man, it was amazing. Like the stage. I've always just seen it on TV. You always
Yes.
seen it. Growing up, you always like, wow,
Yeah.
right. You've always just seen it on TV, and that's basically every tournament angler's dream, just to be able to set
Yeah.
foot on that stage, right? And I was like, oh man, if thinking about it, it was kind of unbelievable. And then and how Bass ran everything, it was just perfect how they ran everything. I liked how they did that because all top 10 of us, we didn't know how we did. So and we didn't
Yes.
talk about it. So it was, we're like, wait, this guy's here. I know he always catches them. So it's like, oh man, how did he do? So we're all just wondering, man, how did everybody else do? Because we all made the top 10, which is what we all wanted. But then you
Right.
don't know how you did in the tournament overall. So you're just sitting there, and we
So-
just
So let me make sure I have this correct. I mean, I know this, but maybe some of our listeners don't. You knew you were in the top 10, correct?
Yes.
But you didn't know where you fell within that top 10.
that is correct.
So they called 10. They called 9. They called 8. They called 7. Damian's still in there. You're like,
Am I next? Are they
How
going to
freaking
call my
cool
name
is that?
next?
It was pretty. The whole time I was thinking, I was like, man, if I got on this fish late in the afternoon, I know a lot of guys got them on the same time too, because if the bite window opens for somebody, it usually opens up for everybody. So
Right.
I was like, if I got on at the end, these other guys that are on fish are gonna get on them. So I was like, man, I'm pretty sure they smoked me, because if you think about the day before, everybody's catching a lot of guys were getting 90 inches, and I was just, wow, man, well, these guys are on some monster bags.
Yeah.
And then I ended up with the same exact bag as I caught the day before. So I had 88 on day 1 and 88 on day 2. So
Wow.
I didn't even break 90 inch. So I was like, oh, somebody's gonna
Yeah.
stroke them good.
so when you say the bite turned on, was that when they opened up the locks, or I mean
know-
the floodgates?
I don't know, because I didn't do a whole lot of research before going into this event. All I did was just look at Navionics app and look at my mapping to see what looks good, because I'm not familiar with what the current and stuff, how that plays in a role.
Right.
But for me, I noticed that the water temp got quite warmer than what it was, and whenever the water temp reached almost its peak for the day, that's when I was getting those bites. Those bigger ones were starting to chew once they hit that right time.
The sun breaks through the clouds. The sun breaks through the mud. The water starts to warm up, and like you said, everybody's bite turns back on.
Right. I did notice from my second spot that bite started turning on once the water started clearing up a bit, because after the rain, it was quite muddy, but the wind kind of turned on in the middle of the day, and it kind of blew. So it blew all that gunk off of where I was fishing, and the water
Wow.
started clearing up right there. So I think that helped my water get a little bit warmer, and those fish started to bite. Because yeah, you could you could see the mud line out there in the middle of the lake, and then once that mud line cleared, that's when I started getting bites.
Wow.
Well,
That's
Brad,
awesome.
you've been to TVA reservoirs a lot more than I have. Doesn't the bite usually turn on after when they open up the
Well,
floodgates and the water starts moving?
so like Kentucky Lake, fishing a ledge out there, if you're in the middle of the lake, you really don't see. I mean, it takes a long time, and it could be the whole day before you start to feel that current, if you feel it at all.
Okay.
you might not feel it at all. I mean, if you're down by the dam, obviously, but Kentucky Lake is so big. You know, Chick is a big lake. You know, I've only been there once. I don't know anything about that either. If you can feel that if you're out on a ledge or anything like that either.
Okay. But that's interesting.
Yeah, in you know, and they might still be at winter pool. They might not be pulling water for anything. You know, I think Damian's right. I think he was right place, and the sun break through, the temperatures come up, start the mud lines out there, the water starts clearing, and you know, I think if he had, you know, another hour, 2 hours, even bigger fish would have moved in on those.
From what I noticed after talking to a lot of guys that did do well on day one, a lot of their fish were in the current. So they were fishing current. I believe day two, it changed a lot of the field up because the current, I don't think the current was there at all for day two. But I don't think my fish were affected by current because I was so far back in the pockets and
Sure.
fishing offshore in the pockets. So I feel like these fish were not relating to any kind of current really. These are just more kind of like they become your resident fish. They just pretty much live there. That's what it seemed like.
Yeah.
So I was really just because I don't have any experience on this lake. So to know current or whatever, one thing is that when we first arrived there and we looked at ramps, and we did practice, we didn't see any of the local guys. So I felt like I was in the wrong place. But what options do we have, right? So you just
Right.
fish what's in front of you. So just find a spot that looks like home and stay there.
Obviously, you weren't in the wrong place.
No, not at all.
Obviously, if you caught that many fish, you were that consistent. I mean, you ended up with the same exact pound or the same exact inches 2 days in a row, and that's Mr. Consistency here.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's incredible.
Your mind's messing with you because you don't know. The leaderboard's turned off. You know what you caught yesterday and what place you were in. Okay, I'm still probably maybe top 10. I should be right at 9th.
You're 2,500 miles away from home. My goodness. You had everything going against you. It's pouring down rain. The water's cold.
Yeah, it was we met some pretty tough conditions, and it was just so bad. I was getting sick the first few days, and I was just having stuffy nose. I had a headache, and
Oh my
it
God.
just and then when the sun came out, it was nice, but the fish weren't biting when the sun came out. It just post frontal conditions, and fish were just not wanting to play. And I think that really affected the bite for majority of the field was that post front conditions.
Man.
And still you got 88 inches.
Twice.
On that day too, I was just happy with the limit because I was struggling pretty bad. I think 12:30, 1 o'clock, that's when I got my limit, something around there. But yeah, the whole day I was just running everything and second guessing, but at the same time you just had to keep your head down, just keep casting away.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And again, like I said, the first news story that I saw is second place. I'm like, awesome. Who won? Nobody cares. It's second place. And Russ, we do care. I like you a lot, and congratulations to Russ Snyder's also. A great angler. But I was just floored that it was second place. So that's way cool.
Brad and I were talking on the phone before the last podcast we did, and he's like, "Did you hear Damian second place?" And I'm like, "I'll get him for you, Brad. I'll get him."
Yeah, that was awesome.
Then Brad was so busy, and I was trying to text him, "Hey, I got Damian." Nothing came. I'm like, "Wow, did he lose his phone?"
Yeah, I think I saw it at midnight. I wasn't gonna text back. Yeah.
Oh, I'm still up doing podcast business. I love podcasting, man. I just love it. I get to meet cool people like Damian and Brad.
Yeah.
We're coming up on 35 minutes. Brad, is there anything else you'd like to ask him?
No, I mean, yeah, a gazillion questions. I could talk to you for, a day and a half, 2 days.
The next 7 hours.
I really want to get on the water and fish with you, but man, congratulations so much. I know a million people. I hope you look at that trophy every night and just it takes your breath away when you see it because you deserve it, man. That's awesome.
Thanks, Brad. Thanks.
Look at Jensen. Now what's up? How do you like me
Yeah.
now? So Damian, we always end podcasts with our guests. Shout outs.
Yeah. So thanks
Is
for
there any
Bass for
companies you
putting
like to
such.
recognize?
Definitely. I'd like to thank Bass for hosting such an amazing event. They came a long ways, and really given us kayak anglers that platform. And just to give us the chance to walk on that stage is just amazing. So big shout out to Bass for what they do and putting on such a great event. Thanks Steve Owens. That was a really greatly ran event. So no complaints for me, just all praise for me. So Steve
Steve
Owens,
Owens is
great
the
job on that.
man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So big shout out to him, and I'd like to thank my family and friends, for constantly supporting me, and and a lot of my friends here in California as well. They were cheering me on the whole time, and it felt great. It was a lot of pressure, but it was great. So shout out to those guys, and appreciate everybody for giving me the support, and I'd like to thank my sponsors as well for getting me on the water, getting all the stuff I need. So I'd like to thank Duo Realis, Garmin, PowerPole, Kayak City, P-Line, First Gen Fishing, MB599 Fishing, Team Custom Lures, LA Custom Jigs, and yeah, and I'd like to thank you guys for having me on the show with you guys. It's just been awesome.
Yeah.
It's an
Thank
honor to
you.
have you. It's an
Thank you.
honor. You are a
Yes.
great guest. You're a fantastic fisherman. You're a great ambassador of this sport that I love so much. So
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. If
Thanks
anybody
for
has
having me, guys.
questions, you want to reach out to Damian. Damian, how can they get a hold of you? Facebook or
Yeah, you can reach me through Facebook, or you can even comment on my YouTube videos. I try to post frequently, but you comment on whatever my YouTube videos, or even send me a message through Facebook. I get back to you right away.
awesome.
if you don't, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. Thank you, Brad, for taking time out of your.
Thank you guys.
Thank you, Brad. I know that you're so busy.
Yeah, it's
And I know
okay.
you were busy, Damian. I love podcasting. I love the opportunity to be able to podcast. And Damian, congratulations, second place, man. You deserve it. You deserve it. And guys, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the Bassin Magazine podcast. Bassin Magazine, guys. Bassin Magazine is the official magazine of the Weekend Angler. I'm Jay Angel. Thank you very much for listening. And guys, you're watching this on my YouTube channel. Please like and share it. Please subscribe to it. And that would help support the show. With that, I'm going to end this. It's Wednesday night, guys. Tomorrow is my birthday to double nickel. I'm going fishing this weekend. Spend some time with the wife tomorrow night. So thank you. I'm going to end the podcast with that. Damian, please stick around. I'd like to talk to you for 2 minutes.
Have fun. You only get to do it once.
Yes, have fun. You only get to do this life once, guys. Thank you, Brad.